This is really fun today. I'm really going to have a good time taking you through workbook lesson 21 today. And thank you, as always, for joining me for all of your shares and wonderful comments, both during the live stream and after on the replay. If you're catching the replay, I always go back through these comments and check them during the day. And I really hope that you're watching me live right now because we have so much going on now in the workbook. We've started out with some really basic exercises, and the workbook says that they're basic, of course, by design, to get us into the habit, quite honestly, because spiritual practice is habitual. Once you start a meditation practice, a yoga practice, once you start a practice of prayer or whatever that looks like for you, it becomes something that you do. If you make the decision enough times to do it, then it becomes something that you do as part of every day. It becomes habitual. It becomes something that hopefully, ideally, you look forward to. Because if you look back on where you were when you started whatever your practice is, and now, hopefully you see a difference, how you're able to look at yourself and see somebody who's more forgiving, more loving, right? Happier, more lighthearted, joyful. And the Course says a tranquil mind is not a small gift. So what if you don't believe you've acquired the wisdom of Buddha in 15 days? Is your mind more tranquil? That's a huge gift. It's huge. A tranquil mind is not a small gift. So as people are joining us today, let me just say that if you love nature and the outdoors like we do, I want to invite you to pop over to my Facebook page because I'm posting some pictures of a really gorgeous hike that my wife Cindy and I took in Arizona here, just east of Phoenix, and it's really quite wonderful. This is something that really gets me grounded and connected, and I've spoken about self-care and self-care practices. It's a form of spiritual practice. If you like to get outdoors and hike, or if you live near the beach and you like to take a walk on the beach, anything that you do that would qualify as self-care is spiritual practice as well. And for us here living in the desert, it's getting out into the desert itself and the mountains. And it's really quite wonderful. So let's delve into this here. Yeah, lesson 21. So lesson 20, we went through verbatim yesterday from the language, from commentary on the day's idea. Now, yesterday's idea, very important. I am determined to see. That's lesson 20. Lesson 21, I'm determined to see things differently. Yeah, we're expounding on this. And as you'll see here, as we go through this practice period today together, we're getting deeper. We're getting deeper. We're starting to introduce more structure and more specific structure here into the workbook. And if you've done this before, you will know that it is a deep form of self-inquiry. Isn't that exciting? Not to your ego, it's not. But it should be exciting to you because each of us is answering the call. We are. The call goes out to all of us. Not everybody answers it. The call to awaken, the call to remember who we really are. If you're watching this, you have most definitely answered the call and I'm glad you have, and I hope that you are too. This process is going to bring out our dirt. Yes, isn't that exciting? Say it with a big smile, yeah. It's going to bring out our dirt because we cannot, in spirituality, avoid the dark stuff. We would bring our awareness to the dark stuff and release it in order to awaken. That's what needs to happen. What needs to happen, and you see too many people, way too many, I know them, you know them, way too many people in spiritual communities want to have only positive vibrations. Okay, well, that's really wonderful and everything, and hopefully you have more positive vibrations in your life and good feelings than troublesome feelings. However, in order to fully awaken, we have to bring our illusions to the, in other words, the darkness to light. Bringing the illusions to truth is language straight out of A Course in Miracles. That's what it is. Well, we can't bypass it. We've all heard the term spiritual bypassing. Are you doing it? That's a question that only you can answer, right? I know a lot of people that are, and I just wanted to speak to that. I feel called to speak to that today because I see it so much. We see it on social media. People are trying to look and appear perfect. Well, guess what? We're not, but we are deep down. Our true nature is, in fact, perfection. But here in the world, we've got all these things, right? Baggage, junk to deal with. And as I've said on a different live, you can insert another word for junk if you want to. I'm not going to say it here, but you know what it is, right? It's our junk. It's the things that we've done while in a deluded state of mind. In other words, under the influence of the ego, not by any fault of our own, because I stress, I reiterate, this is no one person's fault, including yours, right? Including yours. If you're finding yourself in a kind of a troubled state of mind, it's, it's the result of all of our habitual conditioning. We learned a certain way of life from our parents, who learned it from their parents, who learned it from their parents, and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So we've got these things to deal with. And true spirit practice means bringing them to light. They keep coming up in all of our lives so we can release them. You've heard people say that things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. Have you heard that recently? If you have, this is another way of looking at it and another way of saying that. Same thing. What's happening, appears to be happening to us, is actually shining light on these dark and troublesome feelings that we've chosen to wall off, that we've chosen to keep to ourselves and hidden. Why? Because they're painful to acknowledge and we don't want to deal. That's pretty much it. We don't want to deal. So we just keep them there and hold them there. They formulate part of our identity, and we say things to ourselves and other people like, "Oh, I can't go there with this. I don't do this." We wall ourselves off, and we don't bring this junk to light. What happens when you bring it to light? Exactly, disappears. It's like turning on a light switch. Spiritual practice is turning on a light switch in a dark room. All of a sudden, the darkness is gone, gone, gone. And there might be some shadow cast in the room if there's something tall, like a bookcase or a chest of drawers or something, but the darkness disappears. It's gone. Lesson 21. I'm determined to see things differently. Well, it's a continuation of yesterday's idea. What this practice period talks about, that I want to talk about as well, is our angry thoughts. Today, we're being asked to close our eyes and search our minds for angry thoughts. What arouses anger in you? Who arouses anger in you? We search our minds carefully for situations, past, present, anticipated, future, doesn't matter. For the purposes of this exercise, doesn't make any difference. What arouses an angry, annoying feeling in you? Or who? Right? Because it's most often another person, group of people. It could be an entire nation state. It could be an entire political party, for example, right? What arouses anger in you? And search your mind for it. Now, the degree of anger doesn't make any difference. We're learning, we're learning in this process that all anger thoughts, all fear-based thoughts are actually the same. Now, it's said in a course that there is no order of difficulty in miracles, meaning all joyous thoughts are joyous. Love thoughts are all the same power. Fear thoughts, ultimately, all the same. And we're either having one or the other. That's it. The choices that we make, choose love or we choose fear. So let's search our minds for everything that makes us angry and apply the idea to that. I'm determined to see, and there's a blank, right? Could be a name of a person, could be a group of people, could be a situation. Yeah, I'm determined to see it differently. So for me, it could be, for example, I'm determined to see my mother differently. I'm determined to see my sore hamstrings differently because we went on a hike yesterday, about a 19-kilometer hike, by the way. That's a lot. That's 11.7 miles, and I'm a little sore. A little sore. So you could say that. You could use that for example. And it doesn't have to be something like your ex-spouse, if you have an ex-spouse or an ex-partner, or your mother or someone that you've had a painful relationship with. Anything that arouses anger, annoyance, doesn't matter what level it is, it's all suitable for the purposes of this exercise. And that's actually teaching us that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is just like the other. So our question, as always, are we choosing love or are we choosing fear? The degree of the emotion does not matter, so search our minds for no more than a minute apiece, and it recommends, I think, 5 practice periods for today. So I'll tell you what, if you can only do 2, if you only remember to do 2 or 1 or 3 or whatever, that's okay. You are not failing at this. Actually, you can't fail at this. Even if you put this down and you're on the workbook for, I don't know, the 6th, 7th time or whatever, if you have started this in the past and put it down, how's that a failure? It's not a failure. You got exposed to this and you're back. It's good. It's a good thing. So whatever you can do, give yourself some grace on this. We all have thoughts of anger, frustration. I mean, all you have to do these days is take a quick look at the internet and news, and something's going to get to you. It is. And from the point of view of spiritual practice, it's a good thing. Something's going to, it doesn't make you wrong, doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that this is coming up your release. So way of looking at this, take advantage of that. Take advantage of that and let it go. You'll find that when you do, you are lighter. You are lighthearted, much more so than you were before. If you've ever done this and attempted this in your life, yeah, search your own mind. How do you feel after? Differently? So, all right. So thank you as always for tuning in and joining me here today. Let's see who's joining me. Yes, hello, Isabel. How are you? Thank you for joining me today. Deidre, thank you for tuning in. And yes, so Deidre, that's very nice of you. Thank you. Yeah, complicated ideas, making them simple. So that's very nice of you. Thank you. I aim to make these ideas simple and presentable because for me, that's really what teaching is about. It is taking something that is esoteric, that we add a bunch of weight, baggage to, try to cloud it, and distill it into something that's really, really basic. This is something that I love. I absolutely love this about A Course in Miracles. It's why it has been one of the centerpieces of spiritual practice for me for the last 8 years, because it does that, doesn't it? I mean, it takes esoteric concepts and then boom, it creates something really simple. Are you choosing love or are you choosing fear? Because that's actually the essence of it. It's it. Now, spirituality is simple, but it's not easy. Right? Just for reasons that we've talked about right here on this life. We've got all these anger thoughts that we'd rather not go there with. There's a difference between easy and simple. No question about it. Yeah. So yeah, Isabel, I used to think that due to the examples of people who were spiritual in quotes, I love it. But now I realize on my own journey that progress in spirituality is digging into the unpleasant. Beautiful. I'm happy you're having this experience. I love that. Yeah, exactly the way that we heal and grow. It is that. Yeah, acceptance to those thoughts and changing them. Yeah. Yeah, that's step number one, isn't it? Is allowing that. It's being present. This is why, whether you meditate or not, this is why, for me personally, meditation practice is so huge and so beneficial, is because it gives us space to be aware. Yeah, space to make different decisions in the moment. It's love, in other words, instead of fear. It gives us space to see things. We can take a step back from our own drama and examine our, which is what this is all about. I love this. I'm really happy that you're having this experience. This is great. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And wherever you are on these videos, they are all archived, by the way. The Enlightened World Network has its own YouTube channel. So you could subscribe to that YouTube channel. By the way, there's a playlist that's created for each of the shows on Enlightened World Network, this one included. So you can go back and look at all of them. And also, this streams to several different platforms. It's to Periscope, so Twitter, LinkedIn, and I'm also streaming it to my own Facebook group, which is called Change Without Limit, where incidentally there's a blog of my experience in 2018 and 2019 going through all of the workbook exercises, all of the lessons. So there's my thoughts. Maybe that will be of help to you as well as a resource. It's called Change Without Limits. And you can always catch the live or the replay of this stream right here on Enlightened World Network. But yeah, check out their YouTube channel because all the videos are there as well. So thank you all so much for joining me and for tuning in today. And everybody's, so there's some comments here. I want to touch on this. Everybody's doing perfectly. I love this. Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Cindy, for saying that. We're our own worst critics with this. Now, something like the workbook is designed to give us practical experience in these concepts, because spirituality is all about experience. It's not about what you believe. People in the world, right, would tell you, they would insist otherwise, but it's not really about that. It's not about what you believe. rather your own living, breathing experience and the decisions that you make in the present moment, which is all there is, to choose love instead of fear. And you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Now, part of this live stream is I am going through the workbook lessons in order. However, I did a couple of weeks ago here when Cindy joined me on the show, I am going to be taking some days where I sit down with a guest, and we will have some of that here. And that's a pause day in the workbook. And wherever you are is exactly where you're meant to be. There are some of you that are watching this live stream regularly that have already done the workbook. Some of you are on lesson 85, 86, or something like that. In other words, you're ahead of where we are on this live stream, but you're neither ahead nor behind of anything. You're exactly where you're meant to be at all times. Each of us is. Why? Ultimately, our home is in God. We are spirit. So we are ultimately exactly where we need to be. And this is true with spiritual practice, because it happens with the workbook is people tend to get in our own way, don't we? We tend to beat ourselves up saying, well, gosh, I forgot all the day's lessons. Oh my God, right? What's wrong with me? Yeah, that voice that comes up. It happened for me. I mean, there were several days, especially the first time that I went through the workbook, where I just forgot the day's lesson completely. I would read it in the morning, go off, and I'd have my day, and I'd get involved in whatever, no matter what it was. At the end of the day, I'd realize, oh, well, I guess I forgot today's lesson. And if you do that, just give yourself some grace. It's actually quite normal. It's actually quite normal. I've done it I don't know, 100 times. I don't know, a bunch of times. Yeah, we all have. We all have. So anyway, thank you all for all of your comments. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again here tomorrow. This has been A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love on Enlightened World Network. Keep the comments coming. I'll check them here during the day. And thank you so much for joining me.